my channel. Today we'll be starting something about cubital fossa. Cubital fossa is a triangular depression. This is what you are seeing is the cubital fossa. It's a triangular depression seen in front of the anterior elbow. How do you define it? It's a triangular depression seen in front of the anterior elbow. Obviously you have something in the knee, behind the knee, that is the popliteal fossa. If this is the cubital fossa, so it should be a triangular structure with a base as well as in apex. Let us study how it is formed. The base is generally superiorly placed and it's just an imaginary line connecting the two epicondyles of the humerus. If this is the humerus, we have something called as the lateral as well as the medial epicondyles, right? This is the imaginary line which passes between them that forms the base of the cubital fossa. And then the apex. So triangle should have an apex, right? This apex is actually formed by the meeting of the two muscles which lead to the formation of apex. That is the Pronator teres muscle, which arises from the medial epicondyle of the humerus as well as the brachioradialis muscle. So medially you will have something called as the Pronator teres muscle, and laterally arising from the lateral supracondyle of the humerus, this major muscle is the brachioradialis. So this is how the triangle is formed. The base as well as the apex. Apex is by the meeting of these two muscles, that is your brachioradialis as well as the Pronator teres, which actually what happens is the brachioradialis overlaps the Pronator teres. It just comes there and just overlaps it. You know, I cannot disturb the diagram. It just overlaps it here, and the Pronator teres is hidden deep inside. So the main thing about is when we study the base and as well as the apex, we need to see what is present inside this, right? So this is it. So this is the structures present inside the fossa. The number one thing, let us start from the complete medial aspect. From the medial aspect, the first thing you find from the medial aspect is the median nerve. Median nerve is arising from this region, immediately disappears after entering the forearm between the two heads of the Pronator teres muscle. Median nerve is the first one to be present in the medial aspect, the content of cubital fossa. It disappears by entering the forearm between the two heads of the Pronator teres muscle. This is a very important thing for you. Median nerve is medially located, the first one to be present here. The second one to be present is the brachial artery. Brachial, one of the most important vital arteries, brachial artery enters the cubital fossa just laterally to the median nerve, and then after entering it divides into its two branches, which is very common. The same brachial artery you will be using for checking your blood pressure, you know, just keep the diaphragm of the stethoscope in this region. This divides into two parts, two regions, that is an ulnar artery as well as something called as a radial artery. Ulnar artery leaves the fossa by going under the deep head of the Pronator teres muscle. Again, remember the Pronator teres, the muscle which was forming the medial border. This particular muscle, the ulnar artery, just leaves the fossa by going inside, you know, like a cuff like inside the deep head of the Pronator teres major muscle. Whereas the radial artery, it just in the lateral side, and it is overlapped by the brachioradialis muscle. As it goes down, the brachioradialis muscle just overlaps it. Now, the next thing after median nerve, brachial artery is the next one, that is the number 3, biceps tendon. The biceps tendon is coming in this region, and it is seen in very lateral to the brachial artery. Everything is lateral as we go on. Lateral to the brachial, it has two type of insertion. One is called as a major insertion going to the radial tuberosity laterally, and medially another insertion going to biceptal aponeurosis, which actually this entire sheet, if I keep on drawing these dots, it's providing protection to the brachial artery and median nerve. Taking you a little bit forward, this is the biceps muscle. The biceps, you know, the biceps means 2. This thick muscle arises in the front of the elbow, and immediately with the help of the biceps tendon, it's inserted into the radial tuberosity located there. If this is the radial tuberosity in the radius, it's located in the radial tuberosity insertion, and the another insertion for this will be just the aponeurosis, which is supposed to provide protection to this part of the brachial artery and median nerve. So number 3 is the biceps tendon insertion. The last one is the radial nerve. Radial nerve is the most lateral one, and it's small baby or like a small branch posterior interosseous nerve. So this is the fourth content of the cubital fossa. It's just the radial nerve arising along with it's a small branch of called as the posterior interosseous nerve. So this is how you're supposed to explain. First you need to explain the definition. Next you're going to explain what are the boundaries of cubital fossa. Then what are the structures in the fossa. Now let's go. But it's not like that. As such, when this is the cubital fossa, this is the cubital fossa and the contents what we see. But other structures also are present here. Number 1, the superior radial nerve. Superior radial nerve is just below the brachioradialis muscle, and it is one of the structures in the vicinity of this particular part. Also you can find across something called the lateral cutaneous nerve of the forearm. Lateral cutaneous nerve of the forearm, which is a branch of the musculocutaneous nerve seen below the biceps, but goes on towards the lateral side. If you want to write, you write. If you don't want to write, there's no need for you to write this. This is just explaining. So we studied about the cubital fossa. We studied what is a base, what is a muscle which forms the lateral side, and the pronator teres is formed the medial side. The contents, we studied the main 4 contents. Now we go to study how is the roof. If I remove every structure from this, I will get an empty space, right? So what are the muscles I see? I see only 2 muscles. The floor of these formed by the lower part of the brachialis muscle, as well as laterally I will see a very big muscle called as the supinator. If you remember, this is the supination, this is the pronation. So here we come across the supinator muscle present here, which forms the floor. The floor of the cubital fossa is formed by brachialis muscle as well as supinator muscle laterally. And if you remove the floor, if it is floor, then we need to know the roof, right? The roof is formed by skin, very easy, superficial fascia, and the biceptal aponeurosis. So this is how you explain cubital fossa. Cubital fossa should be explained. Number 1, your definition. Next, number 2, how are the boundaries formed, and then you're going to explain about something called as the contents. Then you're going to explain what is the, how is the floor as well as the roof is formed as such. Cubital fossa mostly asks for 5 marks question, maybe rarely 10 marks question. Very, very important. You cannot ignore this. There are only 2 fossas. We have cubital fossa as well as the popliteal fossa. This is 10 marks here, and this is in 5 or 10 marks. Most probably 5 or 10. I hope you have understood. Please rewind the video, subscribe my channel. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.